In this video, we'll cover our favorite portion of the Aero app, the Moving Map tab. The Moving Map tab here is the beef and the meat of our application, and you can see it's very similar to any other moving map that you've seen either in your aircraft or on any other application. What we love about this is, first off, the compression ratios that we're using are great. You can zoom in, zoom out, move around really quickly, and still always get back to the data that you need fast. So let's just give you an overview of the moving map page here. If you can see, starting at the top, it gives me my GPS information, my airspeed, my heading, and my altitude currently. And then you look, and in the far right gives me a lat long of currently where I'm at. Also gives me that in MGRS. You'll notice that if I move the map around with my finger, you'll see a yellow bar up top. Now that yellow bar is going to be displayed anytime I move this myself, and you'll see in the middle of the page there's a cursor, and what that cursor reticle does is when I move around and stop on something, the yellow bar is telling me how far that something is away from me currently. It also gives me the lat long for that location. So let's say that I wanted to go over here and I wanted to look how far this obstacle is in the Campbell MOA. It tells me that it's 12.1 nautical miles at 300 degrees, and there's the lat long and the MGRS grid. If I leave my fingers off of it long enough, it will snap back to my airplane and where I'm at, or I can just click the button to do that, and we'll show you how to set those settings in just a second. Also note that if I had no GPS data, it would say no GPS data in this black bar. The last thing I wanted to show you is breadcrumbs, and breadcrumb menu. If I click on the lat long here in the top right, it'll open my breadcrumb menu. From this breadcrumb menu, I can manually add by clicking the add button. So I can say, kind of like a fix, I would like it to take a note of where I'm at currently right now, maybe create an LZ. And then I can also set a timer, and this timer, what this does is if I set it to 10 seconds, every 10 seconds it will take a breadcrumb and track me through, and it will give me those breadcrumbs. And if I go back in here, you'll see 10 seconds, it's added one. Now all I have to do is export those breadcrumbs, and it will give me my flight profile. When I want to look at that, I can export it into a KML file and use it on Google Earth or other tracking applications. Next on our list is the ADS-B, and if you can see in the shaded box here, the ADS-B, if you have a connection with an ADS-B receiver, it will give you that connection information here. It'll tell you whether it has a heartbeat, GPS location, and altitude. FIS-B is the weather, or if it has an uplink or downlink, how long that is taking. Those will all be green. The next feature we have here is one that we enjoy quite a bit as well. If you follow down the right side of the moving map page to the bottom, you have a split screen. It's the box with the split in the middle of it. And what this does, when you press it, it's going to split the screen into two. And what is nice about this is I can have both the moving map and I can have an instrument approach procedure on one screen. That way I can have a little bit better informational view for flying instruments. This view works really well in portrait mode because I have a left and a right separation screen. I can zoom in and zoom out just like what on my regular moving map. I can also zoom in and zoom out on my approach plate. Now when I would be flying, let's say Nashville was my area, I would also show myself geo-rectified. My plane would be on this approach plate as well because it has this circle. I can slide left and right just like I would in a normal book by itself, and it would show me each approach plate that I would like, or I could select the approach plate just like I do with the gray bar in the individual sections. One thing to keep in mind for this split screen view to work and to have an instrument procedure on the other side, you must have a flight plan, and the instrument procedure will always be the last place that you have listed in your flight plan. So in this case, when I bring it out, I've got only Nashville. It's the only place I'm going, so it's going to show up with Nashville's instrument approach. We'll go into flight planning in a later video. Let's come out of split screen, and we'll come down here to our search glass. Now this search glass looks just like the one in the top left. However, this affects what's on the map. So let's say that I wanted to look at BNA. I could go to my glass. I still have my favorites that I could pull up, and let's click BNA and watch. It will move the actual moving map to Nashville and give me right onto Nashville, and then I could add that as a point or get the information lat long that I'd like. So that's the big difference, is that when I hit the glass down here and let's say I hit K hop, it's going to move me to K-hop and center that on my screen as you see here. However, in the top left, it is not going to make that my information tab. Next to the glass for searching, you have your reticle, and all that does is going to snap back to your location of wherever you are. In our options tab, that's going to bring up all the options that we have that specifically deal with the moving map. You can show aircraft, you can do a snap to location, you can change to north up for those of you weirdos that like to fly north up. You can show breadcrumbs, and you can see all of the different information that can be shown on this map, which is a ton. Extended runways is something that's fairly new that we really like, so that you can see those runways labeled just from the moving map. You don't have to go in and out of any information. When you look down here, ADS-B weather, show NextRad, and show METARS is going to be specifically when you are dealing with an ADS-B weather system that is attached or wirelessly connected to your device. Finally, at the bottom, our last tab is map types, and this is the different type of map that you'd like to see. So if you want to switch from a VFR to your IFR low, your in route charts, then you can do that. Also, you have the ability to load up maps, which we'll show you in a different video, and under user maps, you'll see those user maps there for anything that you would like to have a custom map made in a tile. So the last few features of this deal directly with the map and are really great and really easy to use, and they're the long touch and the short touch. So let's say I'm flying along with the map and I wanted to do a short touch, which is anything less than 3 seconds. So it's just a tap of the map. If I wanted to get some information about CKV, I could just simply tap. I tapped it one time, it comes up with the quick information. So this information is just like you would see if you had CKV up in your airport information tab. You can get weather if you're hooked up to Wi-Fi, or if you were hooked up to the ADS-B down at the bottom, you could change through your different weather programs, or you can get the instrument approach. What's great about using the instrument approach this way, let's say I wanted to do the RNAV, GPS runway 17, now that instrument approach has overlaid on top of my map. So if I'm trying to overlay on top of my map, I would just do a short hold, and I would go to instrument approach, and I would go, let's say localizer 3.5, and now the 3.5 is overlaid on my map, and I can use that geo-rectify just like I would with any other portion of a map. Now lastly, let's talk about the long touch. So we'll go back and we'll take a look at CKV again, and I'm gonna hold for 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3. There comes my information, and what this does is this gives me nearest information on the left here. You can see I can scroll through all these nav aids, I can scroll through these airports, I can scroll through waypoints. I can also look at this user waypoint and make this a user waypoint. If I click on any of these, it's going to give me that information in the field box here, and it's going to allow me to go. So let's say I wanted to go over to EOD again. I can go through EOD's general information. I can look at their chart supplement, their giant report. I can move over and see all of that fast information. Also, if I want to go to EOD as a destination in my route of flight, all I have to do is click the add button and it will tell me, hey, EOD has been added to your route of flight. Well, that takes us to the end of the moving map. I encourage you to get in there, play around with the different functions, use some of the long touches and short touches to build your flight routes and get information, and move on to some of the other videos in the series, like planning a flight in the Aero app.